Hi, I'm Shanice Moser.
Today in the city of Theban, we will inform you on the tragedy of Oedipus. Polynices and Ecleosus, the son of Oedipus, have killed one another in battle for control over Thebes. Since this has happened, Creon now rules the city in order that Polynices not have proper burial rites. Everyone that tries to bury Polynices will be killed. Antigone, Oedipus' daughter, tries to give her brother proper burial. Since the sentry catches her in act, she confessed to Creon and says that he himself defines the will of gods by refusing Polynices' burial. Creon thinks that someone bribes the sentry and he is going to kill the sentry if no suspect is found. Antigone confesses her act to Creon and demands that Antigone and her sister Ismene both be put to death. Creon asks his son what should he do at first. His son takes his side, then he changes and take opposition. Creon then threatens to kill Antigone in front of him. Creon decides to execute Ismene but kill Antigone by walling her up alive in a tomb. The blind prophet Tazarese arrives and Creon promises to take whatever advice he gives. Tazarese predicts that the gods will bring down a curse upon the city.
Proceeding on, Creon returns from the oracle with some information that the plague in Thebes will stop when the murder of Lysis is discovered. Creon demands that Oedipus head back to Thebes. The messenger then reveals that Oedipus was an orphan brought to Corinth and given to the royal family. Suddenly, Jocasta, Oedipus' wife, starts piecing things together. Curiosity then leads Oedipus into learning that he is the child of Lysis and Jocasta. He now realizes that he is responsible for the plague that struck in Thebes and the one who murdered his father to sleep with his mother. Due to this discovery, I would now like to inform you that Jocasta has committed suicide, causing Oedipus to stabbing his own eyes out. Begging to be exiled, Creon then decides to ban Oedipus from Thebes. It was said that years after Oedipus was exiled, he finds his way outside of Athens. He knows that this is the ground to rest on. Furthermore, Oedipus has just received more news from his second daughter, Ismene, that his youngest son, Oedipus, who overthrown Polynices, is now in danger of an attack. We are now hearing that Polynices and Creon are on the move to claim rights of Oedipus' burial. Because neither of Oedipus' sons protected him from exile, he shows no sympathy. Despite this unsuccessful search for Oedipus by Creon, he adopts his two daughters, Antigone and Ismene. Luckily, they are shortly rescued by Theseus. In addition, Oedipus seeks that his life is now to remain in the hands of God. Closing out, the death of Oedipus is said to be mysterious and never to be revealed. His daughters Antigone and Ismene, crying sorrow, worried, they ask to be taken back to Thebes safely for that no war is created between their brothers. You know, Brianna, it all seems that Oedipus may actually have the Oedipus complex. Okay, now we're going to turn it over to Oprah, live in Chicago, as she interviews Dr. Phil on how the Oedipus complex relates to the tragedy of Oedipus himself.
This is Oprah in Harvard Studio, and I'm here with Dr. Phil, and he's going to explain the Oedipus complex. Let us hear.
The Oedipus complex, which according to Freud is the immediate sexual desire a child has for their mother, as well as severe envy for their father, and wishing to murder, which is based off the tragic Greek play Odysseus. Usually, these impulses are repressed by the child due to the development of the consciousness, also known as the superego. This complex occurs during the phallic stage of the psychosexual development of the child's personality, in which the infant becomes aware of his or her own body and those of others, as well as their own parents. And out of curiosity, they often undress themselves to explore this area as well as doing the same to others, which usually lasts between 3 to 6 years. However, these sexual murdering impulses, while repressed, can still rise in a child when they reach adulthood, and they often express it in forms of art or writing. This idea was first developed by Freud on the self-analysis that all repressed and shameful or disturbing emotions a child had for his or her parents, whether they be forms of rivalry, hatred, or thoughts of murder. It was said that they were cracked into their very nature when they were born, for lust for the mother and bringing the death of their own father, who was in the way. In my opinion, on how this case reflects this theory, is the man that committed the crime would neither be disorder, immaturity, or lack of parent support, was still during the physiological defense stage of the Oedipus complex, and the man never progressed to the announcement stage, to develop a sense of morality or accept social rules, and as a horrible consequence, has been repressing these thoughts even after he became an adult, for fear of his angsty consequences fulfilling his impulses was his conscious answer, the fear of losing one's sexual organs by his physically stronger father. But these desires, mind you, were only repressed, not settled, and this man must have still carried over these emotions even after he was an adult. And when these emotions finally resurfaced, realizing that he was a physical match for his father, he overcame his fear for castration and fully succumbed to his sexual desires for his mother and killing his father. Even though I am not fully aware of the evidence of the crime, this may explain the motives behind this killer, and if there was any evidence that will turn out to support the theory, a segment of these accomplices might be proven true.
Okay. Well, based on the actions, how could you say it's actually the complex where he didn't know this was his mother?
I'm afraid that the complex is null and void because this is based on impulse and the fact that he is aware of doing the action.
Okay.
The fact that he killed his mother and father was mainly out of misunderstanding. He didn't know the man he killed was his father, and he didn't know the wife that he wed was his own mother.
Okay. So, had he not overheard the incident of this actually happening, do you think he would have still killed his mother?
You mean dead her?
Yes.
I'm afraid I do not know the person personally, so I can't really say for sure, but if I were to make a policy judgment, I would say no.
Okay. Well, I believe it all could have ended if they had taken him to the mountaintop and killed him, but that wasn't carried out. Do you think they regret not carrying out the action of killing Oedipus?
Regret? Can you explain that again?
Do you think they regret not actually taking Oedipus as he was told, the messenger, to the top of the mountain and killing him?
To be honest with you, all of this could have been avoided if the prophecy itself was never mentioned in the first place.
Okay.
If Oedipus never heard of prophecy, he would never have tried to abandon Connaught, and none of the events would have taken place, and all of it could have been avoided.
Well, there you have it, Stephen. Thank you.
And that completes the news on Oedipus. Thanks for watching CNN.